Hey, this is Mark, and you're welcome to AUTOSAYS. Imagine this for a moment. You're driving down a quiet road, thinking you know the global car industry pretty well, when suddenly you find out there's an entire automotive revolution happening on a continent most people overlook. A revolution not built in billion-dollar factories, but in dusty, open yards, crowded streets, and tiny workshops where the only rule is, make it work or it won't survive. Before we jump in, hit like and subscribe, because what you're about to hear will completely change the way you see cars, innovation, and the future of mobility. And trust me, you won't look at your own car the same way ever again. Now, let's begin. This story starts with something almost uncomfortable: scarcity. In many African countries, cars aren't just expensive, they're nearly impossible for most families to afford. Import taxes can be brutal, spare parts take months to arrive, and even the fuel quality can be unpredictable. But here's the twist: scarcity didn't kill the automotive dream, it ignited it. When you can't afford a new car, you build one. When the part you need doesn't exist, you improvise. And when the system forgets you, you create your own system. This is where the African car revolution truly begins. You'll see welders turning scrap metal into working bodies, mechanics reviving engines that should have died decades ago, and communities turning entire parking lots into open-air engineering labs. Sounds chaotic? Absolutely. But inside that chaos is a level of creativity and resilience that major automakers secretly study and sometimes quietly copy. Let's go back in time for a second. Africa's relationship with cars began long before modern brands had global visions. Colonial-era imports, early Japanese sedans, and rugged European trucks became the backbone of transportation. Many of these vehicles, especially the legendary Toyota models, were built strong, but not strong enough to survive 40 years of rough roads, extreme temperatures, and a repair culture built on pure improvisation. Yet somehow, they did survive. And this survival became the foundation of something far bigger, an entire economy powered by ingenuity. But here's where the suspense kicks in. While the rest of the world focuses on electric cars, self-driving features, and luxury tech, Africa is solving a different problem: how to build a car that can last 50 years, survive floods, dust storms, broken roads, and still run even if half the engine parts aren't original. And you might be thinking, why should anyone in the US care? Here's the shocking answer: because this type of innovation is changing the global auto economy in real time. Africa's resourcefulness has created new markets for affordable EVs, new financing models for car ownership, and new manufacturing hubs where vehicles are built cheaper and tougher than anywhere else in the world. Meanwhile, giants like Tesla, Toyota, and Volkswagen are watching closely. They've already begun setting up factories, offering microloans, and building low-cost electric systems made specifically for African conditions. Why? Because what works in Africa often ends up changing the global market next. If a car can survive Lagos or Nairobi, it can survive anywhere. But hold on, because the story gets even more thrilling. Imagine seeing a car that looks like a mix between a taxi, a spaceship, and a homemade tank. In Ghana, creators build cars from scratch using nothing but metal sheets, old engines, and pure determination. They call them collabole cars, and some of them go viral online because nobody believes they're real. In Nigeria, local engineers built electric bikes and tricycles long before major EV companies even considered Africa a market. And in Uganda, young innovators created the Kiera EV, the first electric car designed and manufactured in East Africa. This isn't just survival, it's evolution. And here comes the financial shocker. The African auto industry is expected to triple in value by 2035. Why does that matter? Because the new competition isn't coming from Japan or Germany. It's coming from countries people never expected to see on the automotive stage. And that kind of competition forces the entire industry to adapt or get left behind. But let's pause for a pattern interrupt. If you think the check engine light scares you, imagine a mechanic telling you your engine is fine, but the goat chewing your wiring harness outside is the real problem. Yes, that actually happens. Back to the suspense. One of the biggest differences in Africa's automotive landscape is how cars are financed. In the US, you walk into a dealership, sign a loan, and drive home. In Africa, car ownership often works through community savings groups, microfinancing circles, and informal credit systems where people literally trust each other with repayments. It sounds risky, but guess what? It works. And now international banks are adopting these same methods for emerging markets worldwide. The influence is spreading far beyond borders. Then comes the cliffhanger. Major automakers are facing a choice: adapt to Africa's growing demand for ultra-durable, low-cost vehicles, or risk losing an entire continent to local manufacturers who build simpler, cheaper, repairable machines that consumers actually want. And don't forget about China. Chinese companies saw the opportunity first. They stepped in with affordable SUVs, buses, and EVs that fit the African budget and lifestyle. They built plants, trained workers, and now dominate many markets. But African creators didn't back down. They leveled up. They studied what worked, improved what didn't, and built their own versions customized for local realities. Now, the stage is set for the final act. Picture a future where Africa becomes one of the world's largest hubs for rugged EVs, ultra-cheap urban cars, and innovative mobility systems. Imagine American buyers choosing an African-built electric car because it lasts longer, costs less, and can be fixed in a driveway with basic tools. Imagine US automakers forced to rethink their entire design philosophy because the next wave of tough, reliable, globally popular vehicles comes from places nobody ever expected. That future isn't far away. It's already forming in open workshops, dusty roads, small factories, and communities where innovation isn't a luxury, it's survival. And here's the final twist. The African car revolution wasn't built from abundance. It was born from scarcity, pressure, and necessity. And history shows that some of the greatest inventions of all time come from exactly those conditions. So the next time you look at your car, remember, there's a whole world out there rebuilding the future of mobility from the ground up, and the race has already begun. If you want to stay ahead of it, make sure you're subscribed because this is just the beginning of a global shift no one can afford to ignore.